Julian Hawthorne was a man of breathtaking beauty and deficient character. In his university days, he'd once feigned affection for another man as a cruel prank, only to find himself ensnared in his own trap. The man, Leo, had vanished afterward. For years, Julian had searched relentlessly, a predator who refused to abandon the hunt. Today, the news had finally arrived. Leo was in New York City. Without a moment's hesitation, Julian's black Maybach sliced through midday Manhattan traffic, arriving at the gleaming headquarters of Sterling Enterprises. He and his security detail swept through the lobby like a storm front. Moments later, they emerged with Leo Vance in tow. Leo fought against their grip, his struggles ceasing only when Julian pulled him close and delivered a sharp, proprietary smack to his rear. Julian murmured for him to behave, a command that sent a wave of scarlet across Leo's face. In response, Leo bit down hard on Julian's neck. Chloe, the housekeeper, flinched, but Julian only laughed, a low, dangerous sound. He assured Leo they'd continue this biting game when they returned home. Chloe wondered if he truly believed a long-awaited reunion could feel anything like a new courtship. The moment they reached the penthouse, Leo was unceremoniously deposited into a bedroom. Julian informed him it was the very room he had once occupied, a space meticulously preserved as a shrine to his absence. Chloe stood nearby, holding their expensive coats, trapped in the charged atmosphere. Julian wrapped his arms around Leo from behind, inhaling deeply with a look of profound satisfaction, and confirmed that he had kept everything exactly as Leo had left it. Leo, unimpressed, gave a dismissive roll of his eyes and resumed his struggle. His shirt collar was pulled askew, his dark hair a mess, and his face was flushed from the exertion. Chloe watched Julian's jaw tighten, his gaze shifting into something primal. This was the prelude to a scene not meant for public consumption. She made a discreet exit, pulling the door almost closed behind her. Then, she pressed her ear against the cool wood. What her employers didn't know was that beyond her duties as a housekeeper, she was a clandestine writer, a purveyor of passionate fiction. An opportunity for authentic source material like this was invaluable. She pulled out her phone, ready to document the encounter in her notes app. The two men wrestled first, a tangle of limbs and frustrated breaths, until they collapsed onto the bed, panting. For a moment, the air was thick with their shared exhaustion, their faces inches apart. In the soft glow of the city lights filtering through the window, something shifted. The space between them shrank, a magnetic pull drawing them closer. A silent surrender was on the verge of taking place. Chloe's heart hammered in anticipation. And then her phone rang, a ridiculously cheerful pop song shattering the fragile truce. On the bed, both men froze. The haze in Leo's eyes cleared instantly. With a surge of clarity and fury, he launched a foot into Julian's chest, sending the taller man tumbling off the bed with a heavy thud. Realizing the disaster was her fault, Chloe didn't bother answering the call. She invented a pressing matter in the kitchen and fled. There was clearly an undeniable bond between them, but it seemed her ill-timed interruption had sabotaged any chance of reconciliation. As a housekeeper, Chloe had undergone rigorous training. No matter how absurd the situation, she was never to laugh. Unless, of course, it was physically impossible not to. Such as now. Not only had Julian been kicked out of bed, he had been ejected from the bedroom entirely, his clothes tossed after him. The formidable man, well over 6 feet tall, was now slumped forlornly against the door he was meant to be guarding. He attempted a wounded expression, a pathetic bid for his lover's sympathy. His only reward was a silk pillow thrown squarely at his handsome face. Julian, a man infamous for his volcanic temper, showed no anger. He clutched the pillow, buried his face in it, and inhaled deeply, a twisted smile gracing his lips. He insisted to Chloe that this proved Leo cared about him. Chloe could only stare at the bright red handprint blooming on Julian's cheek. It wasn't a blush of shame. It was the mark of a well-aimed slap. The next morning, Leo, having been silent all night, was now demanding to go to work. This sent Julian into another fit of possessive rage. He accused Leo of being desperate to see someone at Sterling Enterprises, some pretty boy executive he had a crush on. Julian snarled that he would ruin the man sooner or later. That threat was the final straw. Leo, who had endured being manhandled and imprisoned, was now incandescent with a rage that eclipsed everything before it. His eyes were red as he lunged forward and struck Julian across the face. His voice shook when he asked if Julian was insane. He swore that if Julian dared to act so recklessly, he would leave the country and disappear so thoroughly that Julian would never find him again. For all his fury, Julian never laid a hand on Leo. He contained his temper until he reached the privacy of his study, where he proceeded to smash a priceless abstract glass sculpture against the wall. Chloe mentally calculated the cost, her mind filling with images of Benjamin Franklin. It was said that true love was steadfast, but her deepest affection was reserved for the presidents on the $100 bills. Just as she was contemplating her finances, Julian gave her an order. He wanted her to persuade Leo to abandon his internship at the Sterling family's company. Chloe was dumbfounded, thinking that if Julian himself couldn't manage it, what chance did she have? But the one who pays the bills calls the shots. She reluctantly approached Leo, probing for his motivations, and quickly discovered a critical piece of information they had overlooked. Leo was there for an internship. He wasn't captivated by some rival CEO's charm. He needed the certificate for his college CRS. When Chloe relayed this to Julian, the tyrant's stormy expression slowly cleared, replaced by an incredibly foolish grin. He declared that he knew Leo wasn't so superficial. Chloe felt a pang of something like jealousy, thinking that Leo might indeed be superficial, just not for money. If not for Julian's face, what else could it be? Julian announced he would simply issue an official internship certificate from his own company. Leo, astonishingly, believed him, his earlier ordeal seemingly forgotten. He happily followed Julian to work at Hawthorne Corporation. Chloe had seen gullible people before, but never one so willing to be deceived. At noon, Julian worried that Leo wouldn't like the catered food in the corporate cafeteria and dispatched Chloe with a gourmet lunch prepared by his private chef. As she stepped out of the elevator, she saw a striking woman leaning over Leo's desk. The woman was ostensibly asking a technical question, but her eyes were fixed on his lips. Her intentions were anything but professional. Leo, however, seemed completely oblivious, rattling on about processors and RAM as he fixed her laptop in minutes. He didn't even pause long enough for her to ask for his number. The woman persisted, asking if she could call him for help if it broke again, her eyes wide and appealing. Even Chloe would have found it difficult to refuse. Yet Leo looked at her with pure disbelief. He slapped the desk and his expression soured, complaining that she clearly hadn't listened to a word he'd just taught her. Chloe shook her head. It was obvious that Julian wasn't the only reason Leo was single. The man was a social brick wall. It turned out Julian hadn't sent her to deliver food. He'd sent her to scout. When she entered his office, his face was a thundercloud. He gestured with his chin towards the main floor. Through the glass wall, Chloe could see Leo's workstation, now surrounded by a small crowd of admiring female colleagues. Julian muttered that he wanted to fire them all. Chloe quickly advised him to calm down, reminding him that in this day and age, they had to guard against men as well as women. Just as Julian looked ready to intervene, a vision of classical beauty appeared by the elevators. It was Julian's nominal fiancée, Isabella Sterling. She wore a tailored designer dress that highlighted her flawless figure and carried a picnic basket, the very picture of gentle virtue. She smiled and nodded at everyone, effortlessly charming them. But the moment the office door closed behind her, the mask dropped. She kicked off her towering heels with an exasperated sigh and demanded to know who that man was, the one so close to her Sophia. She insisted Julian fire him immediately, offering to pay 10 times the severance. Julian merely glanced at her, long accustomed to her dramatic shifts in personality. He retorted that it was her Sophia who was deliberately getting close to his Leo. He then threatened to have Sophia transferred, and Isabella fell silent. She tossed the picnic basket onto his desk. The two regarded each other without warmth. Chloe was used to managing these two parental figures. Their engagement was a mere formality. What truly unsettled them were the two people outside the office. Seeing their mutual agitation, Isabella got down to business. She noted that Leo and Sophia had been alone for 3/4 of an hour and asked if Julian thought Leo might be jealous. A slow smile spread across Julian's lips, his eyes glinting with anticipation. Chloe rolled her eyes and coolly informed her employer that on a day with temperatures exceeding 90 degrees, Leo and Sophia had already gone out for lunch together. Julian's face fell. Who would have thought that two of the city's most celebrated heirs would end up tailing a pair of employees to a downtown cafe? Chloe found herself carrying 2 portions of untouched gourmet food, feeling utterly ridiculous. She'd been stuck in traffic for half an hour for this delivery, only for the intended meal to now likely end up in her own stomach. Was this a blessing? She would have much preferred to be in an air-conditioned room watching television. Julian, simmering with jealousy, sat opposite Leo, staring him down. Leo finally looked up, a question in his eyes. Julian tried to keep his voice steady when he asked why Leo hadn't called him for lunch. Leo replied that someone was bringing him food. Julian's expression softened, a hint of a smile in his eyes. He thought Leo had stayed behind for the food he provided. But Leo continued, explaining that since he already had food coming, it would be a waste of money to go out and eat. He then turned to Sophia with a smile and suggested they split the bill. Julian's mood soured again. So did Isabella's, as Sophia was currently describing to her in great detail just how handsome Leo was. Chloe was pondering the strange spectacle of these two powerful people trying to sabotage a potential heterosexual romance when a wave of blame was suddenly directed at her. Leo explained that the housekeeper had been too hungry and taken his lunch. He couldn't help it, he had to eat out. It was such a massive, fabricated accusation. Chloe was a highly trained professional. She would not curse out her employer, unless he truly deserved it. She very much wanted to curse him out right now, but the vibration of her phone cut through her thoughts. She glanced at the screen and saw a notification from her bank. So many zeros. The next second, her indignant expression melted into one of amiable understanding. Yes, that was it. She was ravenous. Fortunately, her young master was so kind and considerate. She feigned dabbing at non-existent tears with a tissue, murmuring how touched she was that he had given her his lunch. She met the contemptuous gaze of Julian's fiancé. Chloe simply turned to Sophia and asked with manufactured innocence why she had come out to eat as well, especially since she had seen Isabella carrying such a large picnic basket. Sophia's confused question immediately silenced Isabella. Chloe waited happily for the drama to unfold. But Isabella, unflustered, simply took out her phone and tapped the screen a few times. Chloe's own phone vibrated again. She stared at the new bank alert, shocked by the number of zeros. It was like a dream. She cleared her throat. It was true. She hadn't eaten breakfast and was so hungry she'd eaten both portions. So kind. So very, very kind of them. The two unsuspecting targets of their affection were convinced. Chloe looked at the 4 attractive people and felt a twinge of sadness. Her family had served the Hawthorns for generations, and she was this generation's chosen steward. Ever since Julian's father discovered his son's orientation, he had been trying to intervene. Chloe had been transferred to Julian's side overnight, specifically because she was a woman. The reason Julian couldn't find Leo for so long was because his father had been secretly obstructing the search, desperate to ensure the family line didn't end with his son. He wouldn't condone anything illegal, but he was not above this kind of manipulation. Chloe sighed softly as she watched her account balance grow. She was drawing 2 salaries. One came from Julian's father, with instructions to keep his son from the clutches of any male vixens. The other came from Julian, who paid her to mislead his father so he and Leo could be together. She felt a brief, fleeting pang of guilt. Then, the joy of being doubly compensated washed it away. Her reports to the elder Mr. Hawthorne were a careful blend of truth and fiction. She would confirm that Julian was having dinner with Miss Sterling. They were eating together, just not alone. She'd report that the two of them were very happy. Indeed, the four of them were having a grand time. And she'd hint that good things were on the horizon. Which was true. There would soon be two happy same-sex couples. Back in the office, Julian had moved his workspace into the main area, setting up a desk not far from Leo's and casting a palpable sense of oppression over the entire floor. No one dared to slack off or approach the handsome new intern. The only sounds were the quiet conversations between Isabella and Sophia. Perhaps annoyed by their cheerful chatter, Julian stood up abruptly, startling everyone. He pulled Leo to his feet and announced it was time for a lunch break, steering him toward his private office. The other employees breathed a collective sigh of relief. Chloe wanted to follow, to gather more material for the fleshing out of her stories. An excellent piece of writing required vivid detail, after all. But she hesitated, fearing she would disturb them, and then she heard the soft click of the lock. The frosted glass door was now opaque. It seemed Julian was taking no chances with interruptions this time. But today, someone else was intent on spoiling his plans. Less than 10 minutes after they had entered, Julian's father, the patriarch, arrived at the company. Standing beside him was a middle-aged man, Julian's great-uncle Marcus, his father's most bitter rival for control of the family empire. Chloe was stunned but quickly composed herself, approaching with a binder to report on a different project. The patriarch cut her off coldly, his eyes filled with disappointment. He ordered her to open the door. She lowered her head and remained silent. He repeated the command, his voice sharper. She stood her ground, determined to protect her dual income. She wondered who had betrayed them. How had the old man arrived so quickly? If she opened that door to an incriminating scene, the patriarch might be angry enough to send his own grandson to the ICU. Even more dangerous was Uncle Marcus, who was clearly relishing the opportunity to humiliate Julian. Seeing Chloe's refusal, he ordered his men to break down the door. Chloe tried to stop them, but several men in black suits blocked her path. More and more employees gathered, and it was clear no one intended to preserve Julian's dignity. A chill went down her spine. Her double salary was about to vanish. Julian was going to be disgraced. Would she even keep her job? More importantly, would the patriarch demand a refund? As his men prepared to force the door, Marcus was already behaving as if he'd won, envisioning the scandal that would unfold. The door crashed open. Chloe covered her eyes, unable to look. The onlookers fell silent. Peeking through her fingers, she saw that inside the office, Julian and Leo were sitting at the desk, their clothes intact, their expressions serious as they reviewed a financial report. Chloe took a few steps closer and saw what others had missed. From her angle, she could see the disarray of their trousers, what looked like damp stains on the fabric. Julian's hand was on Leo's leg, creeping upward beneath the desk, only to be stopped by a fierce pinch from Leo. A muscle jumped in Julian's jaw, as if he were suppressing a pained gasp, but his face remained a mask of stern concentration. He looked at the intruders. "Grandfather, Uncle Marcus," he said, his voice like ice. "To what do I owe this urgent visit?" He looked for all the world like a man unhappily disturbed from his work. The patriarch said nothing. He scanned the office and finding nothing overtly amiss, his posture relaxed. He claimed he was just passing by and decided to stop in. He then made to leave. His brother, however, was not so willing to let it go. Marcus pushed his way into the office, intent on separating the two men for a closer look. Chloe quickly moved to block him, and at the same time, Julian's assistant stepped forward, stating firmly that this was a private office and non-employees were not permitted. Marcus's face flushed with anger, but the patriarch stopped him. "Enough," he said. "We're leaving." He gave Chloe a look before turning to go. Chloe didn't care about Marcus. Her loyalty was to the one who signed her paychecks. But the meaningful glance the patriarch gave her before he left sent a shiver through her. She knew he knew. He had suppressed his anger to protect his grandson's reputation, likely forced into this confrontation by Marcus. It was a testament that, when forced to choose, he chose his grandson. The fiction Chloe wrote was gaining a significant following online. Her readers clamored for more, but she felt a bit melancholy. The real-life subjects of her inspiration didn't seem to understand their own feelings yet. At a charity gala, Julian and Isabella, the engaged couple, took the floor for the first dance. Bathed in the spotlight, they were a dazzling pair, two brilliant minds who looked down on their peers. Everyone murmured about how perfect they were together. Chloe glanced from Sophia, who was selecting a dessert, to Leo, who was staring straight ahead at the dancers. She couldn't help but shake her head. To maintain her high reader ranking, she needed progress. She sidled up to Leo and casually asked how he felt watching them. Leo scratched his chin, his eyes still fixed on the dance floor, and admitted it was a bit weird. Chloe's excitement surged. Had the slow-witted boy finally developed a sense of jealousy? She quickly readied her phone's notepad. The weirdness, Leo clarified, was that he was suddenly starving. Chloe felt an urge to hit him. She gritted her teeth as Leo made a beeline for the buffet. She looked back at Julian, who had dressed with particular care that evening in a light-colored suit that made him look cool and regal. His striking blue eyes were mesmerizing. She remembered how he doused himself in cologne before they left, muttering that it was Leo's favorite scent and that he hoped it would entice him. He had nearly used the whole bottle in his attempt to seduce Leo. But when the dance ended, Isabella could barely maintain her virtuous facade. In a quiet corner, she rolled her eyes and called Julian a preening peacock. Julian, unbothered, smiled and started walking toward Leo. That's when Chloe noticed that Leo had been standing frozen in the same spot for a long time. It was as if he'd just discovered a new continent. He must have finally realized what he was feeling. Why else would he flinch away in a panic when Julian reached out a hand to him? Julian paused. Then his expression hardened. He asked if Leo found him repulsive. Without waiting for an answer, he grabbed Leo's arm and dragged him away. Chloe started to follow, but a sharp look from Julian froze her in place. So stingy with his drama. Luckily, she had another pair to observe. Compared to Julian, Isabella was a master of romance. In no time, she had Sophia blushing, though the other woman still seemed oblivious. Then Isabella's kiss landed on Sophia's cheek, licking away a smudge of cream. For a moment, Sophia reached up and touched her face, her expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. She thought of Isabella as her best friend, but her best friend was trying to seduce her. Isabella whispered that she wanted to kiss her lips but wouldn't without permission, yet she couldn't bear the weight. She pleaded with Sophia not to be cruel. Chloe was impressed. If Julian had half of Isabella's emotional intelligence, he would have won Leo over long ago. Isabella held Sophia's hand, her face a picture of vulnerability. Sophia, flustered, was torn. It was she who was pursuing a straight woman, Isabella argued, so she was the one who should feel ashamed. Sophia, unable to process the shift from friendship to romance, but persuaded by Isabella's earnestness, agreed to give her a chance. Chloe gave a mental thumbs up, diligently taking notes. The strategy was brilliant. Approach as a friend, lower their guard, shower them with affection, induce guilt, and then seize the opportunity. A psychological attack was far more effective than brute force. Then again, as Julian had pointed out, at least he had someone to use brute force on. Isabella was so smitten she'd only managed a kiss on the cheek. Chloe supposed he had a point. After the gala, she stayed up late, frantically writing 10,000 words. The following days were deceptively calm, the quiet before a storm. The cloying scent of romance was everywhere. To her left, a burgeoning love between two women. To her right, a tumultuous affair between two men. Only Chloe exuded the fragrance of a content single person. Can't take it anymore. Can you? A man materialized behind her as she was getting coffee, pretentiously flipping his hair. He told her she worked too hard and that if only she had a man to rely on, a family to come home to, things would be better. Chloe felt the coffee in her hand suddenly become unappealing. She tossed it and got a green tea instead. A man? She only needed Benjamin Franklin in multiples of 8. She didn't know who this guy was, but remembering a task Julian had given her, she forced a dry smile. She told him that if he really thought her life was hard, he could just give her some money. The man's face twitched. He started to launch into a lecture, but she waved him off and made a quick escape. Pretending was one thing, but she had no patience for patriarchal nonsense. She was, after all, a materialist of questionable quality. After several more failed attempts, he seemed to give up on her, convinced she was incorrigibly greedy. Then, she caught him putting something in Julian's coffee. He panicked for a moment upon seeing her, but then seemed to recall her mercenary persona, and his expression calmed. He asked how much she wanted. Chloe put on a look of profound grief. "How could you do this to my young master?" she wailed. "My meal ticket." The man's panic returned. "You're going to report me?" Her expression shifted instantly to one of fawning conspiracy. "What are you talking about? If you have a scheme like this, you should have told me sooner. How much for the next dose? Cut me in." The man was baffled, asking what kind of drug she thought it was. She offered to help with his power play, whatever it was, for a 50% cut of the profits. Annoyed by her persistence, the man blurted out that it was poison. Chloe paused. After his outburst, the man looked terrified. She leaned in closer. "So, the pay is high, right? Introduce me." As expected, the man behind the plot was Julian's foolish great-uncle, Marcus. The same blonde hair and blue eyes that looked so captivating on Julian just made his uncle look vapid. He had long been jealous of Julian, constantly complaining about the patriarch's favoritism. He was desperate to tear a piece from Julian's empire. After listening to his tirade, Chloe feigned indignation. She agreed that it was outrageous for the patriarch to favor his grandson while his own son was still alive. She fanned the flames of his resentment, validating his feelings of being overlooked. Her words struck a chord. Marcus became agitated, picked up the vial of poison, and pressed it into her hand along with $100,000 in cash. He promised another $1 million once the deed was done. Chloe looked at the money and privately thought it was a paltry sum for regicide, a testament to the gap between their stations. But she smiled, patted her chest, and promised to get the job done. Julian Hawthorne was poisoned and hospitalized. Good news, he was faking it. Even better news, Chloe got the $1 million. She looked at Julian lying in the hospital bed, wearing makeup to appear weak and pale, and felt a pang of something like pity. Where was the arrogant, volatile man she knew? In his place was a lovesick fool. He asked her if he looked pathetic enough, wondering if Leo would come and cry over him. Chloe privately guessed Leo wouldn't come at all. This wasn't the first time Julian had feigned weakness to get his attention. The first day, Leo didn't come. The second day, Leo still didn't come. On the third day, Julian grew desperate and had his private doctor issue a critical condition notice. That did the trick. Not only did Leo come, but so did the patriarch and the rest of the family. Unfortunately, the room was swarmed, 3 deep with concerned relatives, and Leo was stuck at the very back, unable to squeeze through. Julian, lying in his coma, was agitated, his hand nearly tearing the sheets. If Chloe hadn't discreetly held him down, he might have jumped up. The patriarch, furious, ordered a thorough investigation into the poisoning. Chloe lowered her head, feeling a little guilty when he announced she would be in charge of the investigation. This was her chance. That evening, Uncle Marcus was holding a celebration party. Chloe arrived with the authorities and presented conclusive evidence of his crime. When the proof was laid before the patriarch, he still couldn't believe his own brother would resort to murder. A family with such weak morals and tainted blood could never be his successor. It would only bring ruin. That day, Chloe had fought and won a significant battle. Returning to Julian's ward, she was about to share the good news when she saw a figure sitting in the chair by the bed. It was Leo. He sat in silence, his eyes full of tears. He had lost weight in just a few days and looked more like a patient than Julian did, his eyes unnaturally red. After a long moment, he stood, leaned over, and pressed a gentle kiss to Julian's pale lips. As he straightened up, his sad expression was replaced by confusion. He wiped his own lips and saw a layer of white residue. He leaned closer to Julian, sniffed, and gasped in surprise. Chocolate flavor? Chloe, watching from the doorway, inwardly cursed. The lip balm Julian used was flavored. The game was up. Sure enough, Leo's gentleness vanished, replaced by an icy fury. He asked if Julian was lying to him again. Julian remained still. Leo looked at the heart monitor and noticed the small camera recording the scene. He looked at the 4 drip and saw it was just a saline solution. This was the final deception. The discovered Julian initially wanted to explain, but seeing the coldness on Leo's face, he decided to abandon all pretense. He threw his arms around Leo's neck and pulled him into a deep, bruising kiss. Leo struggled, but Julian's grip was iron. After the passionate assault, which Chloe did not dare to watch, the result was predictable. A bright red slap mark bloomed on Julian's face. Leo stormed away. When Chloe entered, Julian sat up, covering his cheek, but smiling with an unnerving innocence. "That was the first time he's ever kissed me willingly," he said dreamily. "Leo must love me very much." Chloe tried to inject some reality into his love-addled brain, pointing out that Leo had also slapped him. Julian's logic was unassailable in his own mind. Then why did he slap me and not someone else? It must be because I'm the most special person in his heart. It's because you're the most shameless person he knows, Chloe thought. She rolled her eyes and handed Julian a folder. His expression shifted back to normal in an instant. He glanced at the contents, and the corner of his mouth curled into a cruel, terrifying smile. He'd heard that his uncle had looked down on him and Leo. He instructed Chloe to ensure Marcus was sent to a special kind of prison, one with absolutely no privileges. Chloe nodded, and for the price of $1.1 million, she silently mourned for the man's future.